Rainfall had never touched this part of the planet before, until now. The ancient lands of Volcaris, blackened and broken like shattered glass beneath a bruised sky, trembled as the storm above growled low, as if awakening after a long slumber. Jagged mountains loomed behind them, their peaks hidden in the embrace of storm clouds. The air crackled with energy, static, electric, and something else. Older. Captain Cale Rennick crouched behind the armored bulk of his recon craft, still, processing what he'd seen. The girl. No. Woman. Alien. Chained. Kneeling beside the glowing sigil carved into the cracked surface of the world. Not a chain, he reminded himself. Not anymore. The collar he'd unfastened from her throat now lay open and useless on the volcanic ground. It hadn't been metal. It had been something else entirely. A seal. A lock. A key. He'd just turned it. She hadn't screamed when he released her. She hadn't thanked him either. She had simply stood up, her silver lilac hair billowing, her iridescent eyes scanning the black sky as if confirming something long awaited. And then, wordlessly, she knelt at the symbol and placed her hands inside the circle. "Sir, we've got incoming," said Lieutenant Drex from the edge of the perimeter. Rennick barely heard him over the low hum building under the woman's touch. The sigil now glowed, pulsed, with violet light. The other soldiers shifted, their weapons raised. "Do not shoot," Kyle said, stepping into the open. "Stand. Down. This is not what it looks like." "How would you know what this is, sir?" Drex replied, incredulous. Kyle didn't answer, because he didn't. All he had was instinct, and that little voice, the one that had whispered for him to remove. The collar in the first place. That voice had gotten him through wars, through assassinations, through betrayals. It had never steered him wrong. The woman, no, her name was Zephira, he remembered now. She had whispered it once, through cracked lips during interrogation. That name rang now with the weight of prophecy. Zephira stood, and the storm answered her. Lightning forked across the sky, arcing downward, not striking but coiling, tethering itself to the sigil like celestial vines. The soldiers backed away as the energy licked across the battlefield. Cale took a step forward. "What are you doing?" Zephira turned her head slightly. Her eyes were alien, yes, but not cruel. She regarded him with a gaze not of judgment, but of recognition. "I am reclaiming what was taken," she said softly. "You have freed me, Cale Rennick. Now I must awaken the throne." He hesitated. "Throne?" Zephira looked at him fully. Now, and for the first time, he saw her, not as a prisoner, or a tool, or a pawn, but as something far more terrifying and beautiful. "I am not what you think," she said. "I was never a slave. I was hidden, sealed. My people thought it would be safer if I were forgotten." Kyle swallowed. "Why?" A rumble shook the land as the glowing sigil exploded upward into a beam of light. From within it rose a towering structure of obsidian and crystal, an ancient fortress buried beneath the cracked plains, something massive and royal, crowned in fire and storm. "Because I am the last queen of Volcaris," she said, "and they feared what I would become." Behind them, the horizon split open as an enemy fleet dropped out of subspace, armored cruisers of the Dominion Empire with weapons hot and ready. Kyle's comlink screamed warnings. Drex shouted for retreat, but Kyle didn't move, because Zephira didn't run. Instead, she raised her arms, and from the newly awakened throne behind her, a symphony of energy burst forth, tearing across the sky, striking the first cruiser like divine lightning. A queen had returned to the battlefield, and Cale Rennick realized too late he hadn't freed a captive. He had unleashed a storm. The skies over Volcaris bled fire. Captain Cale Rennick watched as the first of the Dominion cruisers was torn apart by a bolt of violet lightning, discharged not from a weapon, but from the towering monolith rising behind Zephira. It wasn't a throne in the traditional sense. It was a spire of ancient technology, perhaps even something biological. Alive, breathing, pulsing in rhythm with her. The collar he had removed hadn't just been a restraint. It had been the final lock on a forgotten god queen. Zephyra floated inches off the ground now, her long pale hair rippling behind her like a banner, her arms outstretched toward the storm above. Her bodysuit shimmered with reactive scales that seemed to shift like the skin of a serpent, integrating with the throne's pulses of energy. She looked invincible. Kyle, on the other hand, felt very mortal. "Drex," he said, pressing his comms. "Get our men back. That's not a battlefield anymore, that's a crucible." "Already pulling back, sir," came the tense reply. But the Dominions dropped a full kill team on the ridge, Vanta-class exosuits. "We're outmatched." "Not anymore," Kyle murmured. His gaze locked on Zephyra. Suddenly, she turned, her gaze piercing through the storm straight to him. Her voice entered his mind without sound. "You are not safe here. Their weapons will not distinguish you from me." He gritted his teeth. "I didn't free you just to run." She blinked, slow and regal. "You freed me without knowing who I was." "Why?" Kyle hesitated. It wasn't because he pitied her, nor was it strategy. Something in her eyes had begged to be seen. Something caged, yes, but not broken. He didn't know how to put it into words. Instead, he simply said, "I trust my gut." Zephyra's lips curved into something between amusement and fondness. "Then your gut is wiser than most of your species." The Dominion kill team arrived fast, 6 black-armored figures soaring on grav packs, their weapons aimed directly at the throne and its queen. Their plasma rifles whined, preparing to fire. Kale shouted, "Incoming!" But Zephyra did not flinch. Instead, she spoke a single word in a language older than this planet, and a wall of crystalline light erupted from the ground between her and the attackers. Plasma rounds hit it and vaporized instantly. The shield pulsed, and with another whisper it exploded outward, hurling the Dominion soldiers in all directions. Kyle blinked. That was excessive. Zephyra turned, stepping lightly onto the ground. That was a whisper. They haven't heard me scream yet. Kale's spine tingled. Behind them, the throne pulsed again, and out from its foundation, constructs emerged. Biomechanical warriors with armor like volcanic glass, eyes glowing with the same fire as Zephyra's sigil. She raised her hand towards them, and they knelt. "This was my vanguard," she said. "They've slept for centuries, but now they remember me." Kale's comms buzzed with frantic chatter from the rest of his squad. Some were falling back. Others were trying to call for reinforcements. No one knew who the enemy was anymore, and Kale was beginning to realize neither did he. "Why did your people seal you away?" he asked. Zephyra's gaze darkened. "Because I refused to annihilate an entire star system." Kyle stared. "My council believed the only way to prevent the Dominion from advancing was to destroy the entire Helix convergence, 3 planets and 12 billion lives. I said no. They said I was weak." She paused. "So they imprisoned me, bound me in a collar, disguised as a relic, and let the Empire think I had died." Kyle took a step closer, searching her eyes. "And now?" She looked away. "Now the Dominion knows I'm alive, and they won't make the mistake of mercy." Above them, the remaining Dominion cruisers began dropping orbital cannons. Time was running out. "We can't stay here," Kyle said. "They'll bomb this entire valley." "Flat." "I need the throne's core," she said, walking toward the structure. "It's the only thing powerful enough to awaken the rest of Volcaris." He frowned. "There's more of this?" Zephyra stopped and looked over her shoulder. "This planet was once the capital of a galactic empire. You've seen a door. I'm about to open the palace." Kale's heart pounded. Then the mountain behind them moved. No, not moved. Stood. A portion of the ridge, What they thought was rock and time-worn stone rose into the air, shedding layers of dust to reveal limbs, joints, and eyes the size of a starfighter. It was a titan, slumbering guardian of the ancient queen's will. Zephyra whispered, "Umbrios, awaken." The titan's eyes flared. The air vibrated. Kale could barely breathe. Drex's voice cracked through the comms. "Sir, there's a walking mountain headed toward the Dominion dropships," Kyle answered without hesitation. "Let it." As the Titan lumbered forward, the Dominion fleet began to retreat. At least, those who could. The vanguard clashed with Dominion ground forces, blade and bolt in glorious collision. Zephyra's warriors fought like specters of vengeance, silent and merciless. And through it all, Kale stayed close to her. Not to protect her, but because some instinct told him he'd already chosen a side. As she descended into the heart of the throne, Kyle followed her into the obsidian temple beneath. Inside, it wasn't cold. It was warm, alive. The walls pulsed like organs, humming with memory. Zephyra approached a crystalline pedestal and pressed her palm against it. The core responded, rising in a column of light. Data began pouring into the air, maps, faces, memories, and something else. A figure. Kale gasped. It was her, or it looked like her. "Your clone?" he asked. Zephyra's eyes darkened. "No, my sister. She took the throne after I was sealed. She may be more dangerous than the Dominion now." "She still lives?" "I don't know," Zephyra whispered. "But she will come for the throne. And me." Kale looked at her, truly seeing the weight she carried. "You're not alone anymore," he said. Zephyra tilted her head. "You'd fight a war for me? I'd fight with you." For the first time, she smiled, and the temple's lights flared in response, as if the planet itself approved. Kale Rennick had freed more than a queen. He had chosen to stand with her. Against empires, against fate. But love was war, and they had only just declared it. The air above Volcaris shimmered with fire. The throne core hummed in Zephyra's arms, a heart of violet energy suspended in its containment prism. Kyle stood by her side as they moved through the understructure, corridors of forgotten grandeur, carved into living black stone. Every wall flickered with ancient glyphs, reacting to her presence. The queen had returned, and the planet remembered, but so did her enemies. "She's coming," Zephyra whispered. Kale didn't need to ask who. Ever since they'd seen the hologram in the core chamber, the image of Zephyra's twin, cloaked in. The same beauty, but none of the mercy. Kyle had known the battle wasn't over. "She'll land near the Citadel rupture," Zephyra said, her pace quickening. "That's where she'd anchor her ship. She'll try to corrupt the throne through the Tetherstone Gate." Corrupt? Bend it. Rewrite it. If she binds her will to the throne, it will become hers. The core alone isn't enough. And if she takes it? Kyle asked. Then Volcaris becomes a weapon. One that makes the Dominion look gentle. They reached the surface again, where the sky was bruised with cloud fire. Dominion wreckage smoldered across the battlefield, burning husks of warships. Torn apart by the biomechanical titan, Zephyra had reawakened. But there was no time to rest. A second ship arrived. Unlike the Dominion's angular death machines, this one was sleek, regal, elegant, white as bone and lined with golden veins. Of glowing script, it didn't descend. It hovered, pulsing as if breathing, before it split open like a flower, and from its heart, she stepped out. Zenari, the other queen. She looked identical to Zephyra, silver hair like rivers of starlight, skin pale and luminous, violet eyes that cut through the mist. But her armor was jagged, shaped for cruelty. Her expression was a frozen mask of pride. "Dear sister," Zenari said, her voice carrying through the air like music and venom. "You look well, for someone who once begged me to spare mortals." I begged you to choose peace, Zephyra replied calmly. Zanari smiled. And how did that work out for you? Oh yes, you were sealed, humiliated, and forgotten. Kyle stepped forward, drawing his plasma sidearm. She wasn't forgotten. Zanari turned to him, amused. Oh, the rescuer. You freed her, did you? How quaint. I imagine you think she's yours now. Kyle didn't respond with words. He simply raised his weapon. The air cracked as Zanari flicked her hand. Kyle was hurled back by an invisible force, his sidearm torn. From his grip, landing hard on the broken terrain. You dare raise a weapon to a queen? She hissed. But her voice trembled, almost curious. Zephyra stepped between them, hands raised. You'll have to go through me. Oh, I intend to, Zanari said. The duel began in a flash. Both sisters moved like lightning. Their bodies glowed with divine energy, Zephyra's calm and smooth, Zanari's jagged and furious. Each strike caused the ground to quake. Kyle struggled to rise as the clash of their powers lit the sky in flashes of violet and gold. Blades of energy formed. In their hands, shifting, living weapons that changed shape with every movement. They leapt, spun, clashed, screamed ancient war cries, and Kyle watched, helpless, until something changed. From the horizon, more ships arrived, but not Dominion, not Zanari's, human ships. Captain Rennick, crackled a voice in his comms. This is Commander Yelna of the Aegis Horizon. We picked up your emergency beacon. Are you alive down there? He scrambled behind cover and keyed in, panting. Alive, yes, but in the middle of a goddamn war between two space queens. I've got friendlies, repeat, friendlies on my side. Do not fire on the woman glowing violet. Copy that. You better explain all this after we don't die. The ships descended, releasing combat squads in drop pods. Marines spread out, taking positions as the two queens' battle rocked the valley. Then came the shockwave. Zephyra landed hard, skidding back as Zanari raised her hand and sundered the air, splitting a mountain ridge with her will. You never understood power, sister. Zanari screamed. You think love makes you strong? You think this mortal stands with you because of virtue? She pointed at Kale. He'll betray you the moment it benefits him. That's what they do. That's what they are. Zephyra's eyes never left her. You're wrong. Prove it, Zanari howled, lifting into the air. Energy spiraled around her. She began to chant in the language of the old kings. Kale's HUD flared red. She's activating a godbind ritual, Zephyra shouted. She's going to merge with the throne through force. Kale called to her. What do we do? She turned, eyes glowing. You said you'd fight with me. I meant it. Then hold this, she said, tossing him the core. It was like catching a sun. Energy surged through Kale's body, his neural implant overloaded. Visions flashed, cities, stars, ancient wars, lives not his own. But he held it. For her, Zephyra launched into the sky like a comet, intercepting Zanari just as the ritual reached its peak. Their clash tore the heavens. The Aegis Horizon opened fire, targeting the golden ship. Zanari's forces emerged, twisted constructs of bone and shadow, but Kale's squad fought with everything they had. Marines and biomechanical titans fought. Side by side, Kale, still gripping the core, began to change. It was fusing with him. Data streamed into his mind. Understanding flowed. Architecture of power, command codes of the throne, memories of past rulers. And he realized something. This core isn't just a key, he muttered. It's a bond. He felt Zephyra's heartbeat, her pain, her fear, her will. She was weakening. Zanari was winning. Kale shouted, Drex, cover me! I'm going to her! You'll die. Not before I say what I need to. He activated his jump boosters, soaring through fire and lightning toward the center of the storm. Zephyra was falling, her light dimming. Kyle reached her midair, catching her before she struck the ground. Her skin was cracked with light. Her eyes were fading. "You held the core," she whispered. "I held you," he replied. Tears sparkled at the corners of her eyes. "If I die, she takes everything." "Then don't die," he said, and kissed her. Their lips met. The core between them flared with impossible brilliance, and in that moment, they joined. A surge of ancient protocol activated. The throne did not recognize her alone. It recognized them both, queen and consort, will and weapon. Mind and heart, Kale screamed as the core consumed them, and from the ground, a new light erupted. The throne tower opened and responded. A blast of energy shot skyward. Zenari froze mid-chant. Her golden armor began to crack. "No," she whispered. "You can't." But they already had. Zephyra and Kale rose together, no longer separate. Their forms merged in a halo of energy. A shared consciousness, a singular force, and when they spoke, the air obeyed. "We are Volcaris reborn." With a gesture, Zenari's power shattered. Her golden ship cracked and collapsed. Her forces fled. Kyle, now glowing with Zephyra's fire, faced her. Enough death. Zenari fell to her knees, gasping, weakened by her failed ritual. "You, bonded to a mortal." Zephyra, both of them, descended. Kale spoke gently. "He's not just a mortal. He's my choice." Zephyra's voice finished the thought. "And love is the throne's true power." Zenari looked up, her fury finally gone, replaced by something else, regret. But the damage was done. The war was over, and love had won. The throne pulsed like a living sun. Kyle stood at the heart of Volcaris with Zephyra beside him, no longer only queen, but something far more. Together, they had become the will of the throne. The fusion of their minds and hearts had awakened. The planetary core sent energy spiraling into the crust and triggered the long-forgotten ascension protocol. All around them, Volcaris began to bloom again. Mountains reformed. Rivers carved themselves anew. The biomechanical sentinels bowed and returned to their places of slumber. The skies cleared for the first time in centuries, and the people who had hidden in the subterranean cities emerged and lifted their faces to the light. Peace had returned. For now. But the throne had shown them visions, fragments of what lay beyond the stars. Other thrones, other queens, and a force older than any empire. Kale paced the circular control chamber at the summit of the citadel. Spire. Around him, holograms floated, tactical maps, communication relays, scans of distant systems. Saphira stood by the central conduit interfacing directly with the planetary mind. "She's still out there," Kale said. Saphira nodded. "Zenari won't return soon, but she will return. Or worse," Kale added. "Something else. Will." Zephyra touched his hand, and he felt her warmth. Not just physical, but mental, spiritual. Their bond ran deeper than anything he'd known. They could speak without words, feel each other's breath, emotions, memories. "You regret it," she said softly. He looked at her in surprise. "What?" "Bonding with me. Becoming part of this world. You never asked for this." Kale gave a short laugh. "That's where you're wrong. I never knew to ask for it. But now that I have it..." He stepped close and pulled her gently into his arms. "I wouldn't trade it for every star in the sky." She leaned her forehead to his, sighing in relief. But the moment broke as an alert flared red. Kyle turned to the holograms. An object was entering orbit. Not a Dominion ship. Not Zenari's. It was massive. A relic. A god ship. The Primarch. Zephyra paled. "No, not yet. I haven't restored the vaults, our defenses." Who the hell is the Primarch? Kale asked, his voice tense. A celestial remnant, one of the original ones. They forged the thrones in the age before time. If he's here, it means the thrones are waking up again, and we're now considered competitors. As they watched, the object released tendrils of pure gravity, anchoring itself in orbit. An energy beam lanced toward the surface, carving a spiral into the rock miles away. A voice spoke, not through the air, but directly into their minds. You have tampered with the order of succession, mortal and queen, bonded without right. Submit or be erased. Saphira staggered. Kale grabbed her. No, we're not submitting to anyone. The voice came again. You are not authorized. And then came the hammer. A beam of quantum entropy smashed into the outer shell of the citadel. The shield buckled, structures melted. Air screamed through ruptured vents. Zephyra gasped. He's targeting the throne directly, trying to overwrite it. If he succeeds, Volcaris dies. Kyle's HUD flared. One option. Only one. I'll go, he said. Zephyra turned sharply. What? I'll take the Lancer X, our fastest ship. I can reach the Primarch before his beam finishes charging again. If I get close enough, I can detonate the core. That's suicide. Not if you help me. She understood instantly. A hybrid imprint. Share part of me with you. Enough to wield the throne's resonance. Exactly. She hesitated, then placed her hand on his chest. You're not my subject, she said. You're my equal. Then let's save your world, our world, together. They kissed again, and the fusion flared once more. A portion of her essence passed into him. Kyle felt a surge of divine memory. 10,000 years of royal command, pain, joy, loss, love. He absorbed it all. And then, he launched. The Lancer X tore through the atmosphere, engines screaming blue fire. The Primarch loomed above like a dead god, its surface a labyrinth of rotating rings and pulse towers. At its center, the anti-throne cannon, preparing to fire again. Kale spiraled through the debris field, dodging auto defenses. Zephyra's voice was in his mind. I'm with you, always. He activated the throne resonance inside his suit. Symbols lit across the cockpit. His ship responded as if alive. He wasn't just flying it. He was it. The Primarch fired again. Kale ducked below the beam, shield flaring, alarms screaming. He saw the core exposed, only for a few seconds between charge cycles. That was his window. He aimed straight for it. Autoguns locked on. 1,000 kinetic darts screamed toward him. He didn't flinch. I love you, he whispered. And then, he let go. The Lancer X collided with the core in a blossom of violet-white flame. The world shook. Silence. And then, light. Kale floated. Somewhere. Nowhere. And Zephyra was there. Not physically, but in essence. Their minds still intertwined. You're not dead, she whispered. Feels like it, he murmured back. You did it. The Primarch is gone. Volcaris lives. He opened his eyes. The chamber around him was soft light and mist. No walls, no ground, no pain. And then, slowly, the mist cleared. He was reborn, on the floor of the Citadel's throne room. Saphira knelt over him, tears running down her cheeks, holding his body close. You came back, she whispered. He smiled weakly. Told you I would. The room around them began to shine again. Above, the sky split with auroras. People gathered outside, watching in awe. The throne had accepted them. Fully. Zephyra stood, drawing Kale to his feet. Their hands clasped, and then the voice returned. But this time, it was different. New protocol recognized. Queen Zephyra. Consort. Kale, dual rulers, authority validated. A circle of light formed beneath them. The throne did not reject their union. It exalted it. They looked at each other. A new future awaited. No longer queen and soldier, but rulers. Together. Epilogue. A throne shared. The Galactic Council would come. The Dominion would seek revenge. Other thrones would awaken, but Volcaris would be ready. Because love had rewritten the code of kings and queens, and no one, not gods, not tyrants, could undo it. In the quiet of the reborn throne room, Zafira leaned against Kale's shoulder, and they watched the stars from their palace window. So, Kale said, are we like interstellar royalty now? Zafira laughed. Something like that. Do I get a crown? You already have the only thing that matters. He looked at her. Her eyes glowed softly. You have me. Want more romance, rebellion, and royal warfare? Continue your journey in the next saga. She took his mortal hand, not knowing he held the key to the gods. Tell me to begin, and I'll take you across the stars again.